Hi, my name is Pastor Kevin Merritt. I'm the board president of Hopeline Pregnancy Resource Centers. We are documenting Hopeline's legacy for our friends and donors. This video is one of three videos. We're making a video that features the past, the history of Hopeline. We'll also have one for the present, and then we'll have a video about the future and going forward. This year, Hopeline celebrates 35 years in operation. And as we think about the past, I just want to share a quick memory that I have from probably around the year 2000. It was a fundraiser for Hopeline at a restaurant somewhere. And it was a silent auction, all kinds of cellophane wrapped goodies for sale, and so much care and love had gone into it. And I just remember the passion that the people that were involved with Hopeline had even then. And it's changed so much since then, and that's what we're gonna be sharing about, sort of the good old days. In this video, we will have three guests who are with us right now. We have Linda Cochran, our CEO. We have Eli Whitney, who is our founder, and then Melanie Albright, who is a fellow board member with me. But we're going to start with Eli. It's a pleasure to have you with us, sir. And I just would love to hear your story about how Hopeline got started, and give us the backstory.
Hey, great. I just want to thank you for inviting me to be a part of this special occasion for a very special person. When I look at the history of the Hopeline, I see God's hand is all over it. And when I tell you how it started, you'll know what I mean. It was early 1980s. I was a pilot for TWA flying out of San Francisco. I was living in a pilot's dream home. I had a house on an airport in the Sierra Nevada mountains out in California. I had a hangar in back and I had my own airplane. I'd fly to San Francisco to go to work. We were attending a wonderful church in Grass Valley, California. I had a couple of good Christian buddies who worked at the airport. And when I was home between trips, I'd go in the mornings and we would pray together. Everything was great. I was set for life. And then the telephone rang. It was TWA, and they were telling me that because the company was downsizing, I could no longer fly out of San Francisco. I was going to have to go to New York. I said, what? I was devastated. So we had to sell that beautiful airport home, and we went to Bridgeport, Connecticut. We rented a little house in Black Rock and moved into that house. In that house, there was a basement, and in the basement, there was an old kitchen chair that somebody left behind. I went down there with two pillows, and I put one pillow on the floor in front of the chair and for my knees, and one on the chair for my elbows. And I'd go down there and I would pray. I said, Lord, why did you make me sell my airport home? Why did I have to move all the way across the country? Why did I have to come to Connecticut? What am I going to do here? Well, in that prayer time, eventually, I began to have this burden in my heart for the unborn. And it kind of surprised me because I had not been involved in the pro-life activities anywhere. So anyway, this got so strong, I ended up, I would be weeping, praying for little unborn babies. And I said, I got to have relief. I'm going to do some research. I went down to the abortion clinic in Bridgeport and joined the picketers down there. And when I saw the terrible time they were having, the desperation of trying to stop a woman from walking into that abortion clinic door, I said, there's got to be a better way. We've got to reach those ladies way before they step out of their car onto that sidewalk. We need to give them an alternative door, a door where they can walk in and feel love and compassion, the love of Jesus Christ, where they can be told the truth about what's going on in their bodies, where they can be given practical support and help so that they don't have to have an abortion. I didn't realize it, but as I was standing there on that sidewalk thinking all these things, I was defining what we used to call back then a crisis pregnancy center. If I had to pinpoint a time when the Hopeline was born, that was the time. The next day, I told my wife, let's go and visit some other pregnancy centers in the area. Let's gather information about how to run one. I wrote a letter to the people of the church where we were attending in Connecticut. I've got it right here, May 2nd, 1986. I asked my brothers and sisters if they would be willing to help with money and to volunteer. And I got some good volunteers out of that letter. I had a breakfast for men one morning on a Saturday morning. I just shared my heart with the guys. The next morning in church, a man who had attended that breakfast put a check in the offering plate for $5,000 for the Hopeline. Now, if that isn't confirmation, I don't know what is. So I wanted to give the Hopeline a name that sort of represented what we were all about. And I came up with LIV, live, that stood for Laborers for the Innocent and Voiceless. Now, we did have the 366 Hope telephone number right away, and we always called it the Hopeline because of that. But the official name was Live until 1991, and I incorporated the ministry, and then we changed the name. Now, Psalm 37 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. He's done that several times for me in my life. For example, I always wanted to be an airline pilot from being a little kid on, and God made that happen in spite of some obstacles. Back there, when I was praying with my buddies in the airport, I would pray often, Lord, put me on the front lines, put me on the front lines. Well, he sure did that. He answered that prayer. In Jeremiah 29, God says, seek me and you will find me if you search for me with all your heart. Well, when they told me I had to move to New York, I'll tell you, I was searching with all my heart. You can believe that. And God answered that prayer with a burden for the unborn. Now, God also knew that I was only equipped to take the Hopeline so far. And 9 years after we started the Hopeline, I was getting ready to retire from TWA and move away from Connecticut. But God already had somebody in mind to take over, somebody who could take the Hopeline to a different level that would fulfill God's whole purpose for what the Hopeline should be. And of course, that person was Linda Cochran. So I want to thank Linda for answering the call and for being obedient. Because under Linda's leadership, the Hopeline flourished, and she has made the Hopeline one of the premier pregnancy resource centers in all of the country. So
Eli, if I could ask, did you ever imagine that Hopeline would become sort of what it has when you handed off the reins to Linda 25 years ago?
well, as I was dealing with the Hopeline for those years, God kept growing the vision in my mind as to what he wanted. And I knew that I probably was not going to be able to do all of that. But I mean, things like getting into the schools and talking to the kids about abstinence and post-abortion counseling and all kinds of things that, we should have done and I was not capable of doing. So when I left and I know that they hired Linda, I knew that it was going places.
Well, thank you for sharing. It's such an incredible story that most of us don't know, and it's really encouraging. I do want to invite Melanie to share for a few minutes. Melanie Albright is, as I said earlier, a board member, but also has a history with Hopeline, and she's going to share some of her memories.
Yeah, I'd love to share kind of my history with Hopeline with you. I guess my involvement with Hopeline kind of grew out of my career as a certified nurse midwife and my passion to come alongside women and provide care for them. I believe that that was God-given, and it just was sort of a natural transition to come in and volunteer for Hopeline. I started working with Hopeline probably in the late 1980s. I'm not exactly sure what the year was, but it was late 1980s. And I started out with the Hopeline calls. I was one of those people who answered calls when women would call with questions or seeking help. And so I was one of those people who did that. Later, I went into the schools with my mother and talked to the school nurses about Hopeline and about the free services that we had, and encouraged them to refer girls who found themselves with unexpected pregnancies. In 2007, I was on the medical transition team. I knew that as a midwife, women often would choose life if they saw their baby on an ultrasound screen and heard that heartbeat. So it was our determination that we needed to get ultrasounds in our office and to be able to offer that service. So I was very happy to be able to do that. You know, as you said, Eli, you know, Hopeline has grown and evolved over the years, you know, and as I've gotten to know the staff and volunteers, I've just been, you know, deeply impressed and humbled by the compassion that they embrace these women with. Um, and I think that really, I guess been the one who's been so blessed to really be a part of such a beautiful legacy of hope and compassion to our community.
Thank you, Melanie. That was beautifully stated. And I want to give Linda, just give you a chance to share some of the amazing, you know, the things that God did through the years to grow Hopeline, things that maybe were beyond your own expectations.
Yeah, well, you know, we're just so grateful, Eli, that you answered the call and you got on your knees and you said yes to God. And Melanie, you did too. You know, you said yes, and we've been so blessed to have your nurse midwifery skills help us transition to a medical. And that's the biggest, we never thought that would happen, but in 2006, we finished a week of prayer and fasting. And just like the gentleman that approached you, Eli, in church, we had somebody write us a $75,000 check to go medical. Wow. And that was all the confirmation we needed, because it was the biggest check we had ever received at that time. And so we were like, oh, this is a go. And going medical, my background is a nurse. I'm an RN. And that was always in my mind, be able to provide more medical services. And I'm so glad we did, because we have seen so many choices for life, many more when, like you said, Melanie, you know, when you see life on the screen and the heartbeat and movement, it makes all the difference to whether people choose life.
Linda, I wonder if, is there one client that comes to mind? So I think from your early years at Hopeline, one story.
You know, there was one young woman who was 16, and the reason I remember her, because she had so much pressure from sources I hadn't heard of since then and till now, but her principal was actually encouraging her to have an abortion, and her minister was encouraging her to have an abortion, and her mother. So she pretty much had no one, and so she came to us just wanting someone to talk about what to do with her decision. And she did choose life, and even as a 16-year-old. And you know, I kept in touch with her, and her daughter that she had then is now 25, and the mother is 41. And that baby graduated college and is now married. So it was like to be able to follow, you know, we really connected as a client. And every time there's a big event in her life, she'll call me and say, guess what my daughter's doing now? And, you know, she's just never, ever regretted having that precious child, even as a 16-year-old. And her mom did come around, and her minister came around, and, you know, I'm not sure about the principal. They all were happy that she had a little one. So it's really one of the ways that we have always got support for Hopeline is from people like you mentioned, Melanie, that were volunteers and had a heart for life and just prayed, and God put the unborn on their hearts. And Eli, I remember when I first started 25 years ago, we used to get monthly checks from donors, and back then some of those monthly checks were like $2.50, $5, $10 a month. But the monthly support is really what has sustained us all these years. And some of those $2.50 donors are still giving, believe it or not, Eli. So I'm so grateful for the message that you got out to the church in those early days of the need to respond to the heart cries of women that are in unplanned pregnancies, and no one to show them compassion and help and support. So today we are really wanting to just share the past with you and let you know that we are really looking for more support, more monthly support. to go, and as you pray about it, you'll see a link in the email below in our newsletter and our email letter, and you can click on that, or else you can go to hopelineprc.org/donate, and you can give monthly. We would love to continue to have that monthly support so that we can continue for another 35 years.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Eli. And thank you, Melanie. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.